Are you a software developer? Have you been using ChatGPT to generate and review code for you? Did you know that it's possible to go much further and have a complete development flow only by using human language to reach your goals? Hi, I'm Alex, the architect from Back4app, and today I want to introduce you to the latest version of the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. And by the way, if you enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like in this video and consider subscribing to the channel so you can never miss out on new content like this. Today, I want to introduce you to the latest version of the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. In the first version, it could do all the basic operations inside your Back4app account, such as manipulating data and change settings. On the second version, it got much smarter and could write cloud code, it could create front ends, and it could even do advanced tasks such as enable web hosting. Now, in this third review, it got so much more powerful. It now has inside the plugin a fully working development environment, so it has a code interpreter and it can do all kinds of operations inside the plugin itself. It now allows you to connect all the Back4app plugins together, and it's now fully autonomous, which means it will try by itself to fix any problems it has trying to write some code. So before, if it has an error, you should ask it to fix it. Now it is able to identify the errors and try different solutions until it finds a working solution for you. And why should you try that? Because it allows you to fully interact with the development process by using human language. It's optimized to use the best practice in Back4app and Parse, and also allows you to inspect the results as soon as they get back from Back4app. So it creates a whole new process for development of software, which is much more interactive and needs so much less skills as a programmer to have a fully working application. And once again, it's totally autonomous, so if it identifies an error in its execution, it will try by itself to fix the errors, which can save you a lot of time and give you a lot of flexibility. Last but not least, it now fully integrates with GitHub, so you can track code changes, create new branches, and deploy code automatically by asking the plugin to do that for you. So to illustrate everything that I just said, now I'll show you the three websites that we're going to use for today's demo. The first one is ChatGPT, where I have selected the GPT-4 model and I enabled the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. We already have videos here on the channel on how to install the plugin and which kind of access you need in ChatGPT in order to have access to plugins. I also have my Back4app account where I have 3 running apps, and also I have my GitHub account where I have selected the profile Back4app Dev. This is the profile that I'm going to be connecting to the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. So back to ChatGPT, I'm going to ask into the chat where I have the Back4app plugin enabled to connect to my GitHub account. So please connect to my GitHub account. You know it will be using the plugin because the green box for the Back4app plugin is going to show up in here. Then you can expand this box to see all the operations being done into the plugin inside Back4app and all the responses that it gets back from it. So it correctly identified that I have a few different accounts into my GitHub account. So it's asking me which one I want to use, Back4app Dev or Alex B4A, and I'm going to use Back4app Dev. So let me tell you that, just copy and paste. Now it's correctly connected to my GitHub account, and now I can start operating my GitHub repos. And inside my GitHub account, inside my repos, I have one called First Container, which I just created, and it's a totally empty project, so I don't have any files in here. Let's start by asking the plugin to create a README file inside this project. Into my, and let's get the name of the project, First Container, so copy, repo, in GitHub, please create a README file. And by here you can see that it's facing some issues trying to connect to GitHub, but it's smart enough to understand the error messages that it's getting from GitHub, such as there is no development environment with the specified ID, so it will try to work all these issues out and get it working by the very end. So as you can see here, it got an error telling me that it seems that the development environment does not have a Git installed by default. I will need to install it first. Let me take care of that for you. So I don't have any other interaction that I need to do in order for the plugin to find a solution and make it work for me. And there we go, it created the readme.md, and we can check that here on our GitHub account. If we just refresh, there we go, I have a readme.md file. And we can ask it to add some text into this file. So into that readme file, please add some text saying this is a hello world project using Express.JS. Alright, so it seems to have done that. So if we just go back and refresh, there we go, this is a hello world project using Express.js. Now let's ask it to create a Node.js file in here that prints out hello world using Express.js. So now create a Node.js program into that GitHub repo that uses Express.js to print out hello world when a connection is made. So it found some issue and it will try to fix itself. And it seems to be an API syntax error. Let's see how it handles that. So there you go. It should be in there. If we just go to our first container, here we have our index.js file, and it uses Express.js. It will be serving on port 3000, and at every GET request, it's going to send hello world, and then it's going to start listening into that port. So it worked quite well. Now we can also ask the plugin to create a Dockerfile so I can host this in Back4app Containers. Let's do just that. So now create a Dockerfile to serve this program. And there we go. Let's check that once again. If we come back here and refresh, here I have a Docker file. It's going to use node 14, then it's going to set the work there, copy our package.json and everything else to the root folder, run npm install, copy all the other files including the index.js file, expose port 3000, and then run npm start, which seems correct to me so far. But we can also ask it to test it. So let's try to deploy this to Back4app Containers. So now deploy this to Back4app Containers into a new app named My Hello World. So it seems the app is published, and we can open it by clicking this link over here. Perhaps we need to go back to Back4app and see how the deployment went. There we go, My Hello World. Just into that. Oh, it's still deploying. This is why we're having some errors. So let's wait for it to deploy. And it seems the deployment is ready and it is available. So if we just go back to our not found and refresh, there we go, hello world. So this finishes up the first part of this video, but we have much more to see. And on the second part, we're going to operate the Parse applications inside the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. So stay tuned. Now let's explore how the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT can integrate with the Parse product. So from the same prompt, I'm going to ask it to create a new application. And if you remember, if we go back to my apps, I already have 3 apps running. 200 DMA, My Hello World that we just created, S&P 500 that I use for lots of examples here on the channel, and Yon. And I'm going back to the ChatGPT website where I'm going to ask it to create a new application called Dogs. So into my Back4app account, please create a new Parse app named Dogs. Once again, it's going to show the green balloon indicating that it's hitting the plugin and accessing Back4app to retrieve some information. You can expand this to check which information is being sent into the request and getting back from the responses. And there we go, it created the application, so I can go back in there and refresh the page and a dogs application should be displayed over here. Let's enter this application and ask it to create a new class in here and hold some data. So back to ChatGPT. Into this app, please create a class named dog. A dog should have a breed and a name. Please fill this class up with 10 sample dogs. And there we go, the class was created and a few dogs were added, so we can go back there and refresh the screen, so we can retrieve the latest schema, and here it is, my dog class, and I have 10 objects in there. If I click this, those are the names and the breeds. Now let's ask the plugin to write some Cloud code that will operate this class. So back here, into this app, please write a Cloud code function that retrieves 3 dogs, any 3 dogs. So it has successfully written a Cloud code function named get3dogs that should retrieve 3 dogs. So let's go to our Cloud code section. Oh, it seems it found a problem and it's going to try to fix it by itself. So I didn't have any interaction with that. So it's going to overwrite the main.js file and it's going to rewrite the parse cloud define get3dogs function. So now it was successfully deployed. And let's check if the function is there. So I'm going to my Cloud code section and open my main.js file, and here it is, my get3dogs. Now I could get this function name and call it here from the API console. If I just change the request to post, type functions / and paste the name in and just send query. And here is my 3 dogs. But since I can also operate this from ChatGPT, it's much easier to just ask it to operate it for me. So please call this Cloud code function and print the results here. And there we go. Here are the results that you can retrieve by calling Cloud Code just like I just did, or you can directly hit the classes. It will work exactly the same. This makes much easier for those of you who have not experienced by building queries to just ask ChatGPT what you want to be displayed, and it will figure out the best way to deliver that for you. Now, this ends up the second part of this tutorial where I showed you how it can integrate with the Parse product in Back4app. Now stay tuned for part 3 because that is awesome and it's starting right now. So in the first part of this video I showed you how to create a Hello World app and run it in Back4app Containers, and on the second part how to create a Parse app and create some data and host a Cloud Code function. Now it's time for us to create a new app in Back4app Containers that can integrate to the Parse app running in the Parse application. And I'm going to use the Back4app plugin to do everything for me. So here I have the Back4app plugin where I created a new chat and I reconnected to my Back4app dev GitHub repo, and I'm going to ask it to change the code into my first container GitHub repo to retrieve the values of the Cloud Code function of the dogs app that we just created and display that when it has a request. So from my first container GitHub repo, please change the index.js file to display the output of the get3dogs Cloud Code function from the dogs app in Back4app when it has a request. Please install the Parse SDK and correctly set the application ID and JavaScript key. Ensure the request to Express.JS only renders its output when the full response from get3dogs arrive. So it published the new code. Let's check that. So if we just refresh this and go to our index.js file, here is it initialized Parse with the application ID and the JavaScript key. It instantiated the Parse SDK and it will try to run the get3dogs. I don't think this is going to work. This usually asks for the parse node, so let's ask it to fix it. So please fix the file to use the parse node SDK. Persist the change to use the parse node SDK to GitHub. Alright, let's check that once again, just refresh. And there you go, it's now using the parse node, so this should be good to go. Let's ask it to deploy it to a new app in Back4app Containers. Please run this app in a new Back4app Containers app named My Dogs. So it created a new app named My Dogs. In the container, it seems that it has an issue with the initial deployment. So let's go check that. So let's refresh this. And there we go, My Dogs. It did seem to have an issue. Let's see our first container. Oh, it created a first container one automatically and it's trying to launch it. So let's wait for this one to launch. And there we go, it seems to be good. So let's check that. And there we go, here we have our Labrador and all our other dogs. So as you can see, you can use the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT to generate multiple applications. It doesn't matter the technology in Back4app, and fully create the code as long as you can describe exactly what you're trying to achieve. This gives immense opportunities for you to create new code that is very efficient, very fast, follows all the best practices, and all you need to do is to have the ability to describe exactly what your goals are. We are very proud of what we achieved with the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT, and we invite you to test it out because it's very, very good. And remember, if you like this kind of content, please leave a like in this video and consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss out on new content like this. And save the date on October the 27th because we will have a major release on Product Hunt, so be sure to follow on that as well. I'm Alex, the architect from Back4app, and I hope you enjoyed this content. See you soon! Bye bye!